Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to the next Industry 5.0 keynote speech. We will speak about the next generation promoting a sustainable and human-centric industry. My name is Mike Rada. I'm human, and I'm the founder of Industry 5.0. And let me start with a topic which everybody knows what it is about. E equal mc square. I'm sure when you see this world's most famous formula, you immediately see Albert Einstein, and you maybe remember a theory which is connected to that theory of relativity. And maybe some of you, even the year when it was introduced, it was 1905. But do you know what? In Industry 5.0, we take this formula out of the physics and we ask, how does it look like when E means economy? What is M, which is present in every single economy of the world? And you are right, it's money. But what makes the economy so expensive? Why there is only debt all around? The answer is because it's corruption squared. And this is what makes and what turns our planet into a global landfill. Industry 5.0 is the first industrial evolution ever led by man, by human. In fact, it restores the missing link between nature and human-made ecosystem. It was introduced on December 1st, 2015. And by then, the introduction was done in an article called Industry 5.0 from Virtual to Physical. On March 1st, 2025, it is already represented in 120 countries and is based and recognized 4 types of waste which it prevents to happen. It is a physical waste, social waste, urban waste, process waste, and the wasting of time. In Industry 5.0, we recognize something what we call on-the-ground mines. Do you know what it is? Let me make a short introduction. They are so-called existing resources, and I will make 2 comparing which may resonate with you. One start with numbers, 1 plus x is 3. Then we speak about 6,635 square kilometers. And number 5. We can compare it to 1 plus 50 and 10 million, a much bigger space of almost 80,000 square kilometers. And number 38. Do you know what these numbers means? 1 represents Singapore, the second Czech Republic, and the numbers itself, its population, its area, its GDP rank, and then there is a continent, because Singapore is part of a continent where currently live 4.8 billion people. Czech Republic is a continent, placed on a continent called Europe, which is inhabited currently by 740 million, so much lower number. It is important to understand who we are, because we have many titles. We are managers, presidents, chairmen. We are students. So as producers, teachers, fathers and mothers. We collect many titles during our life, but we forget with every single one the most important one. We are human. We are human beings, not like this man on County Art of Pilsen Brewery. And if we do understand who we are, let me ask you, where do we live? Because we live in beautiful cities, like Roubaix in France, like Pilsen in Czech Republic, like Paris, Brussels, We live in beautiful cities which we fill with trash. We work in factories which produce in one day more trash than the city in a month. We produce products which frequently become waste before reaching the end user, storing them in big metal houses, calling for more to be built to store our waste inside. And at the end of our shift, when we leave the factory, next to the output of our production, we came home and maybe we recognized that something what was called food before is called bio-waste today. And we look at the red sky above our head, asking ourselves, where do we live? I will answer this question to you today and much more. Because the existing reality is, I was born myself on December 24th, 1971. At that time, our planet was called blue marble, and it was a beautiful. But 50 years later, the planet was not blue anymore because it was covered with environmental damage, and then something very strange happened. Without changing our behavior, intentionally changing our behavior, the blue marble show up again. Not because we would like to, but because of COVID, which locked us down. This is the same planet, or better to say, this is a landfill on the orbit, with more than 170 million pieces of space debris located over there in 2017. Today, probably, the number is close to 1 billion pieces. And what we do to the planet itself? We set only one criteria of success, which is more. More money, more companies, more cars, more wives, more houses, more people, more employees. If you don't trust me, ask the members of Fortune 500 how they get to the ladder. The answer will be, we get more. Ask Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. The answer will be all the time the same. We are living on a planet together with 8 billion people. When I started my work, it was 7.7 billion. But very few of you probably know that 200 years ago in 1812, there was the first global population counting, and there was counted 1 billion people. 100 years later, it was 1.5, which means in the last 100 years, we more than fivefold the population. And in 2050, some predicts there should be 11 billion people living on the planet. Just now remember the last image I showed you. We are living here and speak in 206 countries. We are speaking 7,000 languages. We run 1 billion cars, and we let the 9 million people die hungry despite the fact that every single day more than 23 million tons of food and crop is being wasted. We let 850,000 people die thirsty, despite the fact that only California crude oil industry consume every single day more than 347 million liters of drinking water. We plant our food to throw it away because the leaves are not green enough for the buyer in a chain store. We put our overproduction of onion in the rivers and in the landfills not to spoil the market price. We carry our water in firefighting tanks, not knowing that the same amount of water is needed to produce just one and single hamburger. And we do it on a planet where one sip of water can save not one, but 2 lives. We store our obsolete packaging and products on the parking lots of employees, waiting till it becomes waste. This is not a picture from a landfill, but a world-leading producer of one very specific commodity. Producer which has wall lines with environmental certificates, and behind the walls, the landfill is created. We waste products which can serve hundreds and thousands of others just because of the 5 issues found by the QC control. We listen to the words of World Bank, which says that till 2050 the waste volumes globally should grow. In some destinations it should even double. In the same report is written that almost everything can be reduced or repurposed, but the fact is only 13.5% is being reduced or recycled, which means this is the reason why the waste industry became the third most profitable industry in the world. And who are the next one? The number one is the war industry. Number two still is the crude oil industry. Third is the waste industry. Then came drugs and human trafficking, which still exists. How these industries get so profitable? By death and destruction, by environmental burden, by creating a global landfills, by addicts ready to kill, and creation of meaningless life. As I said, you know what on the ground mines means. It means 377 million companies operating worldwide. From that, 200 million operate in Asia, 67 million in Africa, 34 in Europe. And only in Singapore, there is 400,000 businesses registered. Singapore became the Southeast Asia and global business center a long time ago, not because of virtual promises, but because of physical and palpable results delivered throughout the history. And to remain that, the same must be done in the future. I was checking how is predicted what is the most attractive business to operate in Singapore. And I received 10 answers. And what is interesting, from these 10, it looks like that only the cleaning services has something to do with the physical world. But that's wrong. The reality of 2025 is that Singapore authorities has been warning the citizens and companies from deep fake corporate video calls. And they did it just 3 days after the biggest theft has been realized, stealing 1.5 billion crypto coins by North Koreans. What counts next to the reality? Just a few days ago, there was an earthquake, very strong one close to Singapore, affecting billions. There is a war, there are wars running in the world, in Ukraine, Israel, and other places of the world. There are people who are not satisfied with the decisions of governments, and this is picture taken yesterday in Turkey. How does Industry 5.0 look in the age of Industry 5.0? They will decrease volumes, but profitability will increase. Single use will be understood as a failure, not a standard. 1 quadrillion a year is ready to be utilized, if not wasted. Industry in the times of Industry 5.0 will deliver results as evaluation criteria, not numbers and charts. People will use and utilize machines wisely, in a harmony. Wasting would be prevented first, from the very beginning. Transparency is key and will deliver planning. And value-adding people share majority of net profit. These, what you see on the picture, was or can be waste because it was a broken vinyl record. But a man turned it by hand into a piece of art, which has a much bigger value than the original product. How the society would look like in the age of Industry 5.0, wasting, of course, will be understood as wrong. The age will not be a KPI as it is today. In brownfields, the new life will be born. Instead of running, we will start to walk. And not the stories will sell, but the result will deliver the success. And society will reunion. Common language will help to understand. And not the quantity, but the quality would be followed. And it will be done in the world on which we live. It is our home, mine so as yours. We have been presented by media, society, politics, that degrowth is danger. But that's not true. In fact, degrowth is not a scarcity or shortage. Degrowth respects the planetary limits. This is why for nature, degrowth is natural. Because after every growth comes the time to degrow, to become stronger. Degrowth does not reduce profitability, in fact, increases. But it decreases the environmental impact, so as fixes the broken socio-economical systems which we are living in at the moment. Degrowth reduces the economic gaps and helps to align humans with nature, and is contributing to personal development. Very few of you probably know what is the symbol of degrowth. So I will tell you, it's a diamond. Because if diamond will grow forever, it will be coal. It will be crude oil maybe, but it will never become a diamond because only diamond is set under the unbelievable pressure and heat and a lot of other things to create one of the strongest minerals in the world. We have made one big mistake in the past. We tried to build our future on the top of a pyramid, not understanding that the pyramids has not been built for the living ones, but to store the corpses inside. When I did realize that, I decided to build another groundstone, a groundstone which will be stable, no matter how lot will the earth shake. And I created 6R instead of the 3R. And it's a cube in which you firstly have to recognize, then reconsider, and then, if you succeed, you realize. How does it work? Let me explain on an example taken from a factory. When I was there, I recognized an aluminium profile to be stored as waste in such bins. And I said to me, that's wrong. So what can be done with it? I took one piece to the office and thought about it. I reconsidered what it can be done. I made several trials and failed. But then, one moment, I succeed. And I realize, then I hand it over to the client. And since that moment, no aluminium profiles are being wasted by the factory because they have found many other uses. Maybe it's not so understandable for you. So let me take another example from a project which is being realized. In every country of the world, including Singapore, and Southeast Asia, of course, there is a lot of so-called power towers. These power towers have only one function: to carry wires from a place where electricity is being produced to a place where electricity is being consumed. And because of that, it's a huge construction. The highest power tower in the world is 2 meters lower than the Eiffel Tower and is standing in China. When I realized that in a project for one of the largest electricity providers, I thought there is something wrong, and because I know there exists something which is called a vertical wind turbine, I set a goal to find out a solution how to use both to increase the efficiency. And we did. And we calculated if in every 100th power tower in the world will be installed just one 1.5 kilowatt wind turbine, and this is a really small one, there fits 10 or hundreds inside, then we will be able to generate so much electricity as 6 nuclear power stations with price lower than one. And this is the application of the 6R. This is the application of a system which helps to utilize the underground mines and deliver results, frequently without the use of capital investment. But to do that, it was important to do more. And trust me, I'm a heavy contributor and a writer, author of thousands of papers and documents. But the one which I show you now needs 8 years to be produced. 8 years. Why? Because it must be understandable to everyone. And this is the waste prevention policy. Because nothing that can be used or utilized again must become waste. Everything must be considered primary as a pre-waste existing resource and remain in the system. The secondary use or utilization is not limited to the primary function of a material or product and can be executed by everyone respecting the rules and safety regulations. Collecting, sorting, bulking, and trade are not being considered secondary utilization anymore. And if not utilized on a primary location, it must be offered to others before being wasted. And please understand one, there is no waste if we do not waste. What was strange to me, that not a single legislation in the world defines how waste can be prevented. So it must be the definition of wasting must be part of the framework. And it is an important part because wasting is a process in which a product, material, or of any kind and volume become waste. Wasting is a system failure and must be prevented first without any restrictions and limitation. And please understand one. Wasting is not a feature of a product or material, but a result of human behavior. And single use represents one of the most common forms of wasting. The Waste Prevention Framework was introduced on September 1st, 2021. Since then, it was adopted in many countries, many factories, many businesses, many schools and universities, and it changed the behavior of people who do understand what is needed to be done to build wasteless world for all. Many people ask me in the last 10 years, how it is possible that Industry 5.0 becomes so global understandable, and adopted. Let me tell you that it was introduced on December 1st, 2015, and already in 2020, 5 years later, it was named an industrial trend of a decade. 2 years later, it was named the global industrial trend of a century. I am happy that in 2023, the first governments already name it crucial for the country's strategic development. And in 2024, we started with the first trials against those who misuse the term Industry 5.0 to sell products or materials, promoting it as a fake, which is completely wrong. At the end of 2024, the term Industry 5.0 only in academic paper was named more than 1 million times. Until the end of 2025, most of the governments of the world will integrate Industry 5.0 in their strategic development plan. To be more detailed, let me share a few numbers with you. The global investment in 2023 in Industry 5.0 project was $5 billion. The highest one was the 667 million by France and European Commission. But, sorry, that was the latest, but the highest was 1.55 billion by Canada. And it was in a project for space industry. The companies who name already Industry 5.0 as an aim may be known to you: Jaguar Land Rover, Airbus, Bosch, NVIDIA, Schneider Electric, Trinidad Army, Nokia, and many more. The governments who included already and spoke about it was Argentina before the election, Indonesia, India, especially Karnataka, Nigeria, and Greece, and EU itself integrated the term into Sustainable Development Framework of Europe on January 7th, 2021, 6 years after the introduction of Industry 5.0. And already in 2023, the first so-called Industry 5.0 industrial zones has been established in China, France, and United Kingdom. And there has been delivered more than 500 webinars and keynotes related to Industry 5.0. In 2024, to compare the numbers, the global investment was 3 times higher, 15 billion USD. The latest at the end was 1.3 billion by European Commission, but the highest one was 12 billion by Italy in a project called Transizione 5.0, which is based on Industry 5.0. The next names: Nokia Bell Lab, NVIDIA again, Microsoft Mouser Electronics, Volvo Group, Airtel. These are the latest ones. And the governments who joined: Italy, Slovenia, Singapore, who announced through the words of one of the ministers that Industry 5.0 is very crucial for the development. Ghana, USA, Russia, Thailand, Japan, Malta, Greece, South Korea. The list is long already. And just 1 year passed. The industrial zones, India came to it, and according to my knowledge, there is one established in Estonia, recently announced, so this is why it's not part of the presentation, and Japan, and there is Malta, and few more. There is currently 27 nations and governments who announce it. And there was delivered more than 1,000 webinars and keynotes in 2024. You may ask, because you do represent industries, what will be the impact on your industry? So I selected few industries to see the impact. And starting with the automotive, which is being presented as the crucial, which is not anymore. New cars production is down, of course. What is the plan? What about upcycling the fleets existing? Steel industry, traditional production down as well. What to do? Concentrate on 3D printing and systematic repurpose of the existing resources. Construction industry exactly the same. Plus, what about introducing the modular system and the repurposing of some of the structures which already exist, like to turning the shopping malls into schools, universities, buildings to live in, not only work, and banking industry? It should not more concentrate on the debt, but build up surplus for the nation. And we have education industry, which was built on memorizing and uniformity. No, the next direction is curiosity and human build-up and grow. The power industry, we have to reduce the consumption first systematically, because that will help. And if there exists a water dam, why not to combine it with solar? There's a lot of things which can be done. Waste industry should not be evaluated for the volumes of waste managed anymore, but for landfills mining and a reduction of waste volumes. And the wars industry, the wars is the biggest waste and must be prevented, and this can be done only by unity and harmony of humans. The food industry, we can grow up food in the middle of the cities very successfully with a huge reduction of water consumption. The same is for agriculture. Let's take it from the fields or extend the fields. Let's take them closer to the consumption. Water, reuse, repurpose, and reduce the wasted volume. R&D should not concentrate only on finding what's wrong, but finding a solution, what next. And I think that's very important. There is a big impact of Industry 5.0, which I see in the last 10 years since I introduced it. Because every society is built on humans, on individuals. But if we ignore this fact, then we become weaker as a society. And that's wrong. This is why I set humans as a leading force for change. Not the robots. The robots and machines are just the tools. And there is a very famous Czech proverb which says fire is a great servant, but a very bad master. And if you understand that AI and technology is like the fire, you understand in which time we are living now. The society must understand these changes and help to build up the global ecosystem. Society is part of a nature, is not a separate section which lives on a very separate place. No, we are on a one planet. And on this planet we have to work together, not against each other. There are projects of Industry 5.0 which are running and successfully changing the environment and future. The projects are coming from all around the globe, like from Australia, where Robert Tonks introduced a flameless biochar production to process the food waste and agriculture waste. Unique in the world, already existing, available now. Or what about the deep drill water extraction using just the wind? Up from taking the water up from the 100-meter depth. Technology proved, even in deserts, available and scalable. Why not to use it? Why not to utilize the telco equipment which is already outdated? And this is a project from Norway. What about improved efficiency in a way which was not done before? The technologies or methodologies called KIFN or REHAKI are available, are scaling up, are taking the human as a key, not as a tool. What about the high accuracy production predictions? What about producing only what's needed, not obsolete products? What about reducing the number of warehouses needed all around the globe to store the overproduced product? And what about to use not only the floor, but the ceiling to move cargo, easy, omnidirectional? All this is existing. We have started with Albert Einstein's world's most famous formula, E equals mc squared. Let me finish this presentation with the same. Just I switch economy with the ecosystem. An ecosystem is made by meaningfulness times cooperation squared. And this is what, instead of global landfill, create wasteless world for all. I am delivering this keynote in Singapore. And Singapore is part of Asia, the most populated continent in the world. And I see Asia as wasteless, because it is a continent with a rich and long history of mankind. It is high on poverty level of global north, and it should lead the global wasteless world movement. I do believe that the governments of Asia, all of them, will implement Industry 5.0 principles in national development strategy. And it will become the first continent in the world to be wasteless. Wasteless worlds have many tools, and you have the possibility to check if someone is offering you the fake or is following the original. First of all was introduced Industry 5.0 approved, which is a sign, which is a numbered, that will indicate that the company or solution is applicable and respect Industry 5.0 principles. Then, because companies ask to have a place where to go, where to unite, the Industry 5.0 Strategic Alliance was created. We need, and we created, the Declaration of Human Rights and Responsibilities as well, and introduce it to the world. And the last, we started last year, on September 1st, 2024, to support the governments who declared to make Industry 5.0 part of the National Development Strategy. Industry 5.0 is the first industrial evolution ever led by man, by human. It is a new mindset of people and businesses from wasteful to wasteless. It delivers results without the need of capital investment and is based on the principles of industrial upcycling. Utilizing the existing on-the-ground mines is based on transparency, profit sharing and efficiency. And please understand, Industry 5.0 is not a sales tool or a buzzword. It's a new global ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the times where the education was digitalized from one day to another. You remember COVID. Our work was the same. Our leisure time was digitalized long time ago, so it looks like that the only thing which needs to be digitalized is human himself. But if we do so, our home will look like this. And that's not a mistake, because data don't need any light. I recognized that 12 years ago, and I decided I do not want to live on the bottom of a black hole, and this is why I decided to build wasteless world for all. And don't worry, I'm not alone. My name is Mike Rada. I am human. And as I said, I'm not alone, because in 120 countries, the tools of Industry 5.0 are available to 93% of global population already. And at the end, please remember one thing, that the giants start to shrink when the humans start to grow. Have a nice time free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, and be human. Thank you. Bye-bye.